Hey there YouTube, I'm Yukitsu, this is the Yukitsu Times, welcome to my channel, welcome to a little bit of Battlefleet Gothic Armada 2. So, this is a more advanced, later game guide to the Imperial Navy. Now, unfortunately for this guide, it's only for people who've got that experience with the Imperial Navy and have gotten themselves to this level. Now, there's even more that you can actually do at level 9 that I'm not really going to cover. Basically, what happens at level 9 is you unlock the micro warp jump, and this makes it so that the battleships become a little bit more viable. Because if you've got, say, a battleship with the supercharged void shield and micro warp jump, you're capable of jumping out of really, really bad situations, like if you're about to get disruptioned or you're about to get time stopped. Or it also lets you set up for really, really good torpedo spreads from the retribution, which is really difficult to do otherwise. It's not a very agile ship. It's easy to sort of kite around and it's easy to kind of abuse. But if you've got micro warp jump and are using that, you can actually get off relatively decent torpedoes against your enemy. The exception, of course, is anything that can instantly turn around, so the three Eldar factions, as well as the Necrons. Makes it a little bit more difficult, although you can get the Necrons if you manage to trick them into using the inertialist drive early. So that's something that you can unlock at level 9, and that sort of changes the flavor and characteristics of how you can play the fleets. But this is the point where I think they reach one of their better sort of metas right now. So one of the issues that I mentioned in the first video is that the broadside damage for the Imperial Navy is actually not that great. A ton of fleets out there can put out more macro cannon damage and lance damage combined than the Imperial Navy can with their broadsides. And part of this is because they split their fire between two sides and they seem to have the numbers balanced around the assumption that every single gun is going to be firing. That's obviously not true. Ships with 270-degree or front fire arcs only are generally speaking capable of dishing out a lot more firepower than the Imperial Navy ships. Because of this, they have to rely on sort of other methods to win battles. And because they're not good enough at using the torpedo game, I think that only the Eldar can convincingly pull that off really easily, and the Tau with their seeker torpedoes. And to a lesser extent, even the Space Marines, I think, are better at it than the Imperial Navy. Because they sort of lack that real high damage output ordnance weapon, they have to sort of rely on some tricky other elements that they've got going for them that other factions can't easily counter. And that's where this build comes in. So we've got the Vengeance as our capital ship. You can easily switch out the Vengeance for something like a Mars. I think that actually switching that out for the Mars would be a really, really good switch, but I prefer having the Vengeance. It's a little bit more durable, which I like having in my capital ship there. But feel free to do either or. Got 3 Dominators. These things have good broadside damage. It's one of the better ones for its cost, especially. It's not fantastic, though. It's not going to beat like a battleship from the Dark Eldar or something like that. It's not going to out damage a Tau Protector fleet or anything like that. It's going to do good, solid, reliable damage up close. And that's what you need it to do, especially for its cost. It's not that expensive. The more important thing, though, is that it has the Nova Cannon. And the Nova Cannon attribute that we're really looking for here is the 100-point morale loss. Rounding out the fleet, we got a couple Dauntlesses here that you can sort of screw around with. They've got the Nova Cannons, they've got the macro battery weapons. They can do a little bit of either sort of thing there. I kind of wish that these guys were just a little bit cheaper, but it's not a bad point cost. Rounding that out, we got a Cobra Widowmaker, and we got 2 Falchions. The Falchion, I would actually recommend you get the sword instead, unless you feel somewhat confident that you can sometimes get the torpedoes, or if you feel like you really need those torpedoes to round out your fleet a little bit. At this point in time, the sword is just outright better than the Firestorm being just inferior in terms of damage per second at close range. So this is going to be our fleet setup here. Capable of doing quite a lot here. It's a very flexible design, and I am quite happy with the way it performs. But yeah. Moving back here, what we have in this section here that's so important is the Kulexus Assassin and the armor-piercing ammunition combination. So the Kulexus Assassin is an interesting thing. It lets you essentially lightning strike with your Admiral ship against an enemy ship and basically immediately drop its morale to 0. An Admiral ship actually has like 1,000 morale by default, but if you get a couple pie plates on it with those Nova Cannons there, and you maybe ram into it with a couple of your ships or something like that, or you get a lucky critical against its bridge, or you focus fire its bridge and just get a critical that way, the Kulexus Assassin is going to cause it to morale break. And once it does that, you can get the rest of your fleet to sort of pile in on it, because what it's going to do is sort of slowly move away from the battlefield. This gives you plenty of time to hammer down their battleship and their admiral and destroy it. Once you've destroyed their admiral, the rest of their fleet takes a humongous penalty to morale loss. They lose the rally ability, which makes it so that all of their other ships regain a whole ton of morale. and they're going to have to use all of their ship abilities to regain morale rather than recovering their weapon systems or recovering criticals or recovering their crew. And this gives you time to use more Nova Cannon shots to scatter their fleets, because anything that gets hit by a couple of morale panicking Nova Cannon shots is also going to flee. And then you're going to be able to also collect Assassin whenever your Lightning Strike comes off cooldown. Every time you do that, you're going to immediately panic a ship that gets hit by it after their Admiral's dead. And this is an incredibly powerful sort of setup if you're going for a morale break victory. You have to remember there are multiple health bars in this game. There's morale, there's health, and there's crew. And if any of those get depleted down to 0, a ship is basically useless. There's recovery mechanisms for morale and recovery mechanisms for crew to a certain extent, but reducing a ship down to 0 forces your enemy to burn resources to get those back. And if you've killed the Admiral and you're targeting bridges, you can't fix a morale break. So that's why this fleet functions. It's sort of a very off-brand way of fighting with the Imperial Navy, but it's more about dispersing the enemy rather than actually defeating them. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and take our skills here. I like the Disruption Bomb and the Stasis Bomb. If you're finding that you're fighting a crap ton of Dark Eldar, you might want to take the Emperor's Tarot. If you're finding you're fighting people who sit around in gas clouds like a ton, the Auger Probe is actually quite good in those situations. So, you're going to want to sort of switch it up depending on what you're finding yourself up against. Now, if you're playing with something like the Retribution and you're playing a very, very different fleet style, Supercharged Void Shield, Micro Warp Jump is what you're going to want to do, but obviously that's not the style that we're going for with this particular fleet here. Now, this is not a guaranteed win, but it is a very, very powerful fleet combination, and I think it probably is going to be the one that the Imperial Navy proves to be best at. And the reason I'm saying that is that despite the fact that the Adeptus Mechanicus has more access to Nova Cannons, the Imperial Navy has better access to ships that are capable of finishing off the enemy admiral once it's fleeing. And they've also got better ships for brawling out the factions that you don't want to use the morale shock strategy against. If you're stuck against, say, the Adeptus Astartes, you actually have to use your broadsides to kill them. The armor-penetrating macro cannons are going... I don't want to fight this one. Even if I win this, it's going to just be annoying. Oh, good. Thank God. Okay. But yeah, in the event that you're fighting against the Adeptus Astartes, they are immune to morale break. So if you're playing as the Adeptus Mechanicus, you have to get into broadside range to finish off their ships, because your Nova Cannons are going to chip away a little bit at their health or whatever, cause a couple fires, something like that. It really isn't going to actually make a humongous... Oops, this is the wrong thing. It's not going to make a humongous difference to the performance of the Space Marines. And then the Space Marines are just going to board all your ships, and your ships are worse at receiving boarding actions than standard Imperial ships. And then you're just forced to fight a broadside fight with your crappy broadsides because you don't have access to Dominators. So you're just going to be really SOL in that sort of matchup. You're also screwed against Necrons because they'll be able to sort of... while the Nova Cannons are going to cause tremendous damage and you can Colexus Assassin them, if they hop on top of you, you've got lower morale than the Imperial Navy, you're going to take a whole bunch of morale damage, and your own ships are going to start running off like wimps, whereas the Imperial Navy can get in there and start punching things up in a much, much stronger way. And the Retribution Grand Cruiser... Oh, God damn it. The reason I'm frustrated about this is not that I find necessarily the Eldar to be good. The Eldar are extremely annoying to play against. I don't want to... I don't want to play this. Oh, God. There's broken and interesting. In my opinion, the Tyranids are an interesting matchup because they're a lot of fun to play against. They're very, very powerful. The Eldar are not fun to play against. Anyway, let's just do our thing here. So anyway, I forgot what I was talking about. I sort of stopped caring what I've talked about, but yeah, let's just get this nonsense on the road here. So the way that you wanted to play against this kind of army, you need to keep all your ships together. If you're up against the Eldar, you pick some points that you're going to sort of say are your sort of sphere of influence. And I've picked this side here because this has some capture points sort of near each other. And what we're going to do is we're just going to station our fleet sort of between them so that I can watch all 3 points, or in this case, even 4 points with my fleet. And in the event that he tries to sort of capture everything, I can contest him, I can fight him on the capture points. His ships are visible while they're on there. I've got the ability to sort of deal lots of damage to him while he's on there. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing. These guys actually should be on lock on target eventually, but for now this should be okay. So yeah, this is not fun. Like even when you're winning against regular Eldar, it's just an annoying matchup. Oh well, actually no, I should be on lock on target. The reason I should be on lock on target is that I can potentially destroy fighters. 4, 5. He's taken an all stealth fleet. He's got nothing but light cruisers. This is gonna just be. This is gonna be the pure definition of not fun. Now, one of the things I probably want to do is try and get that gas cloud under my control. It's probably where I'm going to station my navy when it comes down to it. But for now, let's just fly forward. We'll wait to see where his control point contestants are, and we'll use the scanner once we sort of get around there. I probably don't want to actually be pushing this far forward with my guy yet, though. Once we get these guys on the point, I'm going to leapfrog forward with the Dauntlesses. And we can just about leapfrog up here. So we start moving up this way. And that's because we don't lose the progress of capture because we got these guys on there. I can move up this way, and I can move my admiral up this way. So we might have to try and win this on points, which I really don't want to do if I have to, but you know, is the way of things. He should be able to beat me to this point like really, really easily, but looks like he hasn't gone for it just yet. He might be going for a flank around me. He might be knowing that I'm sort of likely to go for this raid sort of area here. But I'm just going to hang out with this Widowmaker around this area. I don't want it to be overexposed and die, so... Okay, so... Interesting. Okay, very interesting. Okay, so what we can do here, I can pop this here. What the hell? Why does he have that? Huh, that's interesting. Righto. Well, either way, let's go ahead and use... Ooh, micro-warp jump. I do not see that very often. Okay. I think I actually go for this one with these guys here. I don't really have to care about this guy all that much, actually. I think I actually go for these guys here. I did that wrong. I don't think that's quite the right spot. Damn. Oh man, that's so unfortunate. You know, I'm just gonna click these guys onto their... No, I should click these guys onto this guy, actually. Alright. So we should go stealth in just a second here. There we go. I don't know necessarily where those torpedoes are going, but I don't think that's going to be a very good volley. Fortunate for me. I'm going to lock on target here and just go after this guy. Similarly over here. Why can't I fire my Nova cannons here? Where'd he go now? I don't necessarily know that I think that that helped him any. All right. God, this battle's annoying. Okay. Is this a Widowmaker down here? Yeah, this is my Widowmaker. That's unfortunate. All right, let's just... Everything except the engines. God damn it. Fortunately, his generator's down, so he's not capable of dodging these shots. There we go. God damn it. Finally. All right. So now a repeat of that question. Why can I not fire at... Why can't I fire my Nova cannons? Oh, there we go. I can fire my Nova cannons again. I kind of want to save them for right now. I need to convince him to do a jump or something like that. Well, I could just try and Nova cannon this guy here if he's just going to sit there. No, he's not going to sit there. If I lose my shields here, that's not really a big deal, so that's fine. He's just running away with that thing immediately. Well, that is his funeral. Oh, I can't do it while I all had full. Okay. Is that all the Nova cannon shots I have left? Oh, shit. Well, either way, that worked out okay. Oh, this is going to suck. Well, nope. Actually, I took out one of them. I'm going to get hit by one torpedo. I don't necessarily think it was a good idea for him to do that. All right, cool. Cool. Got a couple sales damage on this guy. Gonna keep pummeling him wherever I can here. Wait, what's he doing here? Is he trying to like ram my battleship here? Or my retribution? I don't know what he's trying to do here, actually. I think he just ran his own ship into his own problems, though. There goes his catapult. I don't know what the hell that was. Cool. Alright, and mutinies. So, sorry I wasn't talking very much. Like, the problem with Eldar fights is that it does take a bit of focus. I agree with him. They are actually hard to use. Like, the issue with them is not like whether or not like they're a noob race. They're not noob friendly at all. They're just annoying. My opponent's actually smart enough to take torpedoes here, though, which is interesting because like a lot of people just take. Oh, jeez. It's just like, kill me, please. End me, please. Ram straight in your loving embrace. Yeah, the problem with Eldar is not so much that they're actually a noob-friendly race. They're actually really hard to use effectively. Their damage is really pitiful. Like, you could see that I barely took any damage on any of my ships there. The issue with facing against them is that they're annoying. Like, they just run around in circles, and it's a real pain. A really, really, really good Eldar player can actually beat this fleet that I'm using, but it takes more effort for them than it does for me because I can't really counterplay them all that effectively. I just have to have that good strategy of stick to those capture points and force him to come towards me using like a mix of Nova Cannons, use those Nova Cannons. And also it really, really helped that I was able to force that mutiny aboard his capital ship, because that was what gave me the ability to kind of start focus firing that ship down because it couldn't properly fight back at that point in time. Still, pretty tricky one to do. I definitely do not like this matchup, just in terms of it's annoying to fight. There are other matchups that this does really, really well against. Like, I still think it does well against Corsairs. It's just that they're annoying. It does especially well, though, against the Tau Merchant Fleet. Like, if you're up against the Tau Merchant Fleet, if you can cause their capital ship to, like, mutiny and then blow it up, everything else is going to scatter basically immediately. It does pretty well against the Adeptus Astartes just because you've got that good macro battery damage. Just have to focus on like mashing the reinforcements button so that as soon as he starts boarding your ships, you can immediately get them to have a bolstered amount of troops as soon as you hit yellow troop value. And this can sometimes save you from going into the red because your ships have dramatically worse performance in red. But even then, if he consistently persists on just focusing down one ship with boarding actions, you've got the ability to lightning strike your ship back into play. You've got more ships than your typical Space Marine player, so you're going to be able to just spend that time to focus down one ship. If you can focus down one ship, by the time he can use his next set, hopefully he's lost one or two ships. At that point in time, he's going to just get really rapidly diminishing returns. He's not going to be able to finish off all your crews before you can kill off all the ships. Admech are actually extremely vulnerable to the strategy. Their morale is lower than standard. Chaos fleets tend to actually do fairly poorly against this sort of setup there as well. Excuse me. They just don't really do well in situations where you're capable of sort of either brawling or firing at them at long range, and that's what this fleet can do quite well. The Corsairs, like, this is the one that I think is one of the worst matchups. If they go torp heavy, you just lose. Basically, like a torpedo heavy, these guys, if they get one spread against each of your lights, they're dead. If they sort of focus fire their macros for a few seconds at your escorts, they're dead. And he doesn't really have to keep out of your line of sight. His ships are tough enough that if he's dancing around, keeping his hollow fields up, he doesn't really care. This is also a really tough matchup. Just because they're overclocked right now, like the damage per second output of their ships is absolutely insane. The Obsidian Rose has got like 52 damage per second coming out of its front. That's way, way too much. Like, it's bad enough to the point where if you've got a Retribution class battleship at point blank firing broadsides into the Obsidian Rose, and the Obsidian Rose just standing there with nothing else firing straight back, the Obsidian Rose will kill the Retribution. assuming they both have armor penetrating macro cannons. And if you're past at like, if you're not doing it that way, if you're at the sort of maximum range, the Retribution can't fire back. But assuming it could, because of the accuracy distance, the Obsidian Rose is still going to destroy the Retribution before it can kill the Obsidian Rose. It's obscene. Matchup against Orcs, I haven't really tried that one yet. In theory, it should work okay because they're actually quite easy to morale break. So as long as you're capable of just continually getting good morale breaks against them, you're going to be fine. Necrons, this actually works extremely well to the point where this fleet is almost, I would say it's a hard counter against Necrons. Practically every Necron player right now jumps into the middle of combat with you and then unleashes all of their abilities. That's the wrong move against the Imperial Navy with this sort of setup, because they're going to immediately take your flagship, render it into this useless limping thing that's trying to get away from the battlefield that doesn't have any abilities and is trying to sort of do absolutely nothing. And as soon as that happens, you can kill their capital ship. If the Necron flagship goes down, they're done. It's just no questions asked. The Tyranids, I haven't really had that many matchups with this particular one, but it just really reinforces that gameplay style of what you should already be doing against the Tyranids. Kill their general, kill their admiralship, any way you can. Once that happens, everything else sort of goes feral and runs off the battlefield. Tau Protector fleet's actually pretty tough. The sheer amount of ordnance means that you have to be able to survive those ordnance waves coming in. But once you do, once you can get into that brawl range, it's pretty much over for them. You just have to make sure that their main custodian or whatever they've got for their capital ship gets bombarded down enough that when you Calexis assassin it, it starts fleeing. At that point in time, you can pretty easily kill it. The rest of the ships after that, a little bit tricky to get them to run away, but it's possible. They have to sort of turn to face. It makes them really easy to ram. Tau Merchant Fleet, these guys just, like, there was a person I was playing against who I was using this list against, and his comment at the end of it's like, how did you do that? My entire fleet's full health. Everyone's at green personnel. So, like, he had full crew. He had full health. Every one of his ships was running away. That's how bad it is if you're playing Tau Merchant Fleet against this. So anyway, that's a look at this particular style of play. There are plenty of other styles of play you can take with the Imperial Navy. It's a very, very versatile sort of list. This is the one that I think works best for them, simply because their tools are sort of geared in this general direction, and this is kind of the best style of play I've found with them so far. If you tried to go for DPS, there's nothing out there that you out DPS really. Like, I think you have more damage per second output than the Craft World Eldar, the Orcs maybe, and the Adeptus Astartes, and of course the Adeptus Mechanicus. I think those are the only factions that you can out DPS. And the Adeptus Mechanicus, technically you just have matched DPS against them. Practically everybody else has higher damage output than you do. I think even Chaos does. And because of that, you can't rely on just duking it out side to side against things right now. You just have to do other things with this faction. And I kind of think that that's interesting, that this is the direction that the skills and abilities and fleets have pulled me in. So I'm sure that you're all going to have other opinions about different ways you can play these guys. Like I said, I do think they're very versatile. If you're better at control of torpedoes, I think that that's going to be something a lot of players are going to make use of. If you're really good with carrier play, I think that's something that these guys can make good use of. But in any event, I hope you found this episode enjoyable. And of course, as always, hope to see you guys all next time.